In this video, we're going to look at an answer for Lab 7.1. So Lab 7.1 has you go through and create a script that allows you to store product IDs, names, and prices. Copy that code and come over here and we'll make a new Python file called lab 07-1. And as always, I'll go ahead and paste in the description at the top. Now, I want to reuse some of this code, so I'm going to go ahead and copy it. I know it works. I've tested it before. And I just have to change it over for my needs. So products. That should work. That should work. That should work. Enter a product ID. Name and price. And I probably should give them a format. So enter in the ID, name, and price. Keep looping until they type an exit. Well, I did say that there. Okay, cool. Here's the data was saved. Yeah, I think this is going to work. Wait a second. No such file or directory products.txt. Now, you may have noticed in my notes that the +A or +R, the file must be created first. So in order for this to work, I need to go through and create a new file called products.txt. Okay, let's try it again. Now it's working. And we've got our data, and we check to see if the file's got it, and it does. Excellent. So I think that does it. It allows users to store product ID, name, and prices. Code's going to be very similar to the last one. Now there's some problems here. A couple things that are going on is I'm mixing the programming, the processing code with the user interface code. I am not going through and defining a data section, and I'm not defining the processing section and the user interface section, and I'm also not using the template that we talked about in previous labs. So you might continue to work on this a little bit and add in those. So for example, I might say, okay, I need a data section, processing section, and a presentation or IO section. And then we think about what that's going to look like. So else here. And so on. Now, the processing piece, we would look at what we could do as far as capturing data and maybe writing out the data. So, let's see here. I need to open the file, and I need to go ahead and loop through the file. So let me think here. I'm going to define a function, and I'll call it write user input. And basically, it would be something kind of like this. Now you can see that I've got a little bit. Oops, that needs to be kicked over. Yep. Got some things going on here. This is shadowing the outer one. So what I probably want to do is change this over. Now this is input from the user, and there's not much I can do about that. I need to capture the data so I can actually go through and write it. Let's see, is there any way I could break this down to smaller pieces? Not really, and this writes it. So write user input. Yeah, well, I think that's descriptive enough. So would that be one unit? Yeah, I think it would be. Let's see what I can parameterize. First of all, I can parameterize the file name. So I'll make a variable for that, and I'll change this over to file. Now file, is that a keyword? Didn't look like it, so I think we're in good shape. What I need to do is I need to get rid of this and call that function. And I'll just pass in the file handler. And this is a reference, acts as a reference. So file will now go through and reference that. Let's see if I didn't break it. Pulls up the existing data. I type in a new one. And it seems to be working. That's a good sign. Let's see, what else could be done? Input, output, is there anything else we could do? This reads the file. Is there any duplication? Well, you know, here's one. This one here goes through and it reads the file with the message content, and this code is very similar. So if you find similar blocks of code, you can go ahead and make a function out of it. Let's see. How about we call it read file data. Now, keep in mind that I'm just going through this as a what-if scenario. You don't have to have done any of this. But just to kind of show you what could be done, I'll go ahead and bring that up here. And we'll call read file data. And I probably don't want to pass in the same thing, so I'm going to make it a message. I'll put that down here. and then I'll just print out the message. And I can make the message optional. I'm going to call this read all file data to make it a little bit more self-explanatory, because I'm going to have it read from the top. And to make sure it reads from the top, I'm going to put that seek command in there. Now if I do that, I need to pass in the file, so let me do that too. Now if it's going to read all file data, yeah, I got to pass in a file, so there's no getting around that. Okay, so what do you got here? And this needs to become file, and I need to pass in obj file here. Okay, let's see if I got this right. You pass in the file, and I can read from it. You pass in an optional message. Okay, excellent. And then I want to go ahead and make sure that the file reads from the top. So seek 0. So I think that's going to work. So I'll use it here, and then I want to use it down here too. I don't need any of that anymore. So let's see what I've got here. So open the file, read the contents of the file, print out some instructions. You know, I wonder if that write user input. You know, I think this actually message really should go up here, because it's really very very strongly tied to the process of writing the user input. And actually, I probably should make a change in this, because it's very specific to write user product user input. I want to make it as self-explanatory as possible. Okay, so read all the file and the data, write product user input, then read all the file and the data again, then close the connection. Yeah, I think that makes it kind of easy to read. I mean, it almost acts like pseudocode. Open the file, read all the file data, write the product user input into that file, read all the data again, and then close the connection. I think it's going to work. Let's find out. Hopefully I haven't broke it. I should have probably tested a few more times as I was making changes, but that's alright. Okay, up to 4 and D, and I don't know, 5.4. Exit. And it still works. Lovely. That's exactly what we're hoping for. So this was the optional phase. You could have done that. If you did not, that's fine, and I'm sure I could keep going down and making this a little bit better. For example, I could make it so that, let's see, what can I extract out? Oh, I don't know. I could keep looking at this to make it a little bit better, tuning it up a little bit as time goes on. And if you came up with a different solution, keep in mind, as long as it worked, and by work I mean that it stored the product information as ID, name, and price, you're fine. Perfectly fine. Okay, hopefully that was a useful demonstration, and I will see you in the next video.